Amanda Leitner, and welcome to Rochester Rising, where we amplify the stories of Rochester entrepreneurs. Welcome to episode 245 of the podcast. Whether this is your first time joining us or if you are a frequent listener, thank you so much for joining us today to learn more about small business and the culture of entrepreneurship in Rochester, Minnesota. We hope that you learned something today from entrepreneurs themselves that can help with your own journey. Here at Rochester Rising, we release a podcast each Wednesday. You can connect with the podcast on our website at rochesterrising.org, or really wherever you best like to listen into your podcast, we are there, including on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Rochester Rising has been running since 2016. We've told the stories of many different entrepreneurs. You can find all of these articles, videos, and podcasts on our website as well at rochesterrising.org. These stories include journeys of both new and very experienced business owners, so there's something for everybody. Rochester Rising is part of Collider, which is a Rochester, Minnesota-based nonprofit that activates, connects, and empowers early-stage entrepreneurs in this community. You can learn more about Collider and how our organization can help accelerate and assist your journey at collider.mn. So we launched this podcast and Rochester Rising in 2016 to tell stories of entrepreneurship that were taking place within the city of Rochester, Minnesota, especially stories that otherwise would not have been told. We take a lot of time to understand each entrepreneur and what their experience has been like in the community. Right now, we are running a fundraising campaign, which hopefully is not our last, to keep Rochester Rising alive and running. If you find value in this podcast, if you find that you learn something each time you listen in, if you stay up to date on businesses in the community through our stories, please consider donating. Our fundraising campaign is going through October 15th. If we do not meet our goal, which we are far, far behind at this point, we will have to shut Rochester Rising down. So if you think this podcast should continue, please donate through our campaign. You can find a link in the show notes wherever you're listening in, or through the donate button if you are listening in on our website. Again, if we don't reach our full fundraising goal, we made the difficult decision to shut Rochester Rising down. So if you can donate, please donate prior to October 15th so we can keep telling these stories. So this week on the podcast, we connected with Rochester-based entrepreneur Sarma Singam. Sarma was born in India and raised in the DC suburbs. He first got interested in entrepreneurship during his undergraduate work in biomedical engineering at the University of Cincinnati, and he created his first startup in that community. Sarma also earned his medical degree in Cincinnati and came to Rochester for a medical fellowship 2 years ago. Now he's building another startup called Medsyllabus in the community here. Still in the development stage, Sarma envisions Medsyllabus as a comprehensive way for residents and fellows to learn, collaborate, and network in a socially engaging way. We have a great podcast in store for you today with this serial entrepreneur as he shares lessons learned and what tools he's found to help his entrepreneurial journey in the Rochester ecosystem. Before we launch into our story with Sarma, I just wanted to acknowledge our sponsor, Clifton Larson Allen, or CLA. The team at CLA would love to get to know you, learn about your vision, and see if they can help. CLA is a full-service CPA firm with over 100 offices nationally, including right here in Rochester. Sure, they do taxes and audits, but they also focus on helping startups refine their vision, build budget, work with banks and investors, and track and organize their accounting. They are deeply experienced at building the business systems that allow you to focus on what you do best. Get product market fit, grow sales, hire talent, and create a thriving enterprise. Contact Todd Churchill at toddchurchill@claconnect.com or give him a call at 507-280-2317. All right, so now let's go right to the podcast with Sarma Singam and Medsyllabus. All right, well, Sarma, thanks so much for joining today over Zoom, our favorite friend over the past year.
Thanks for having me.
To chat. So yeah, just wanted to start out by asking, learning more about yourself and where you are from.
Sure. I was born in India. We immigrated as a family when I was young, when I was 4.5 years or so, to the DC suburbs in Maryland. That's where I did my elementary school education up to high school. And then I applied for this combined engineering and medicine program at the University of Cincinnati, and somehow I got accepted. And I ended up packing my bags and moving to the University of Cincinnati for the second half of my life. That's where I did a undergraduate degree in biomedical engineering. That's where I did my medical school, my internal medicine residency. And then I moved to Louisville, Kentucky for a cardiovascular fellowship. And then I moved to Rochester for an additional fellowship.
So you've been, taking the medical route to get to Rochester. So how long have you been in the community here? It's been pretty recent, right?
Yeah, this is my second year in Rochester.
Okay, not that recent.
No, well, it's still recent, I guess.
Yeah, you've been through a winter. I think once you've been
I've been through
a winter, you don't really get that in Cincinnati or Louisville for sure.
For sure.
So, we wanted to talk about kind of your entrepreneurial journey, but, before we dive into that more, how did you first get kind of exposed to entrepreneurship, or what was that path like for you to start creating these startups as you're doing everything else with your career?
Sure. It started in undergrad. I was interested in medical device design. In biomedical engineering, I picked a focus in device design. And with device design, the first half of it is designing and developing. The second half of it is trying to see how you can get it to people. And so the combination of that, I think, is well suited for entrepreneurship. And so I participated in a lot of entrepreneurship workshops. I started getting to know the business community. I just started to learn from anybody and everybody who's willing to talk to me about business and entrepreneurship and medicine. I ended up working for a very small startup in undergraduate in my co-op time at the University of Cincinnati. That was really cool. It was a great experience. And then I continued to pursue building startups from ideas that were generated in the medical communities. And I had one in Cincinnati, and then I have another one now in Rochester.
I feel like having that startup experience, like you said, going and working for a startup had to be like invaluable to understand what it was and how what working in a startup actually means.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It wasn't a lot of people. I was the co-op. There was a business individual, 2 scientists, and a CEO. A very small organization. He actually came out of an incubator at the University of Cincinnati. It was a great experience.
Yeah. You don't know what it's like until you do it yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, you had a startup that you built in Cincinnati. You have a startup that you're working on here now in Rochester. Can you talk about Medsyllabus, what you're building here in Rochester, and how the idea developed?
Sure. Yeah. So what we're trying to do is develop a comprehensive way for residents and house staff, fellows, to learn various aspects of medicine in a more socially engaging method. Right now, most of the education that we get is in the hospital, and there's no clear syllabus as there would be for, let's say, medical school or college. So residents and fellows, we rely on books, journals, conferences, curriculums, all sorts of different modalities to learn our skill. And so we're hoping to develop an engaging platform where the house staff can learn, collaborate, network, look for jobs, interact with colleagues from around the country, perhaps even around the world, on cool medical ideas.
Yeah. So this has a lot of meaning to you, I imagine, because you personally experienced this problem.
Yeah, for sure. After residency or during residency and fellowship, I've subscribed to dozens of multiple different journals, multiple different committees, memberships, just to get access to educational material. I've spent thousands of dollars subscribing to courses, subscribing to question banks. There's really no concise community for any of this. And so I think a platform that provides that kind of uh, information will be invaluable.
Yeah. No, it's really surprising to me, someone not involved in this field at all, that doesn't exist. But it makes a lot of sense that, you would need it, that kind of comprehensive step-by-step manner. It's the same thing with like business education. Like I feel like having, walking people from, ideation to launch to funding to scaling makes a lot more sense than having let's say a lot of different workshops. While that's great because you come in where you need something, it's also like, what's the right way to put this? Yeah, it's not very comprehensive. You're not getting a full overview. You're just getting little bites and chunks, and it's really hard to put it together.
For sure, that's the problem. And the idea came from an awesome individual, Nandan Anavakar, who is also another member who's in our project. He is a leader in medical education, and he had this idea of, hey, it'd be really cool if we could build software out of it. And because he and I like the concept, and I have some of the background in building this kind of platform out. Him and I started working together and started building a team. And so then we came up with this idea and brought it to fruition.
So what stage is the product at right now? Do you envision, is this mainly, is it mobile? Is it kind of web-based? What stage are you at right now? And what do you envision the user experience being like?
Sure. Right now, we're in the minimally viable product creation. And so we're working with a brilliant software developer who's putting together a minimally viable product so we can start testing it out in local hospitals. We envision this platform to be for both, any kind of web-based modality, whether that's a laptop, a iPad, or iPhone, or a different type of phone, I should say. We want the user to have a very seamless experience when they want to learn something. We don't want it to be cumbersome. We want somebody to go on, if they have a question, a medical question, to go on this platform and figure out the solution by going through our content. We hope that our content will be multimodal, so we'll have pictures, videos, podcasts, text that'll provide a comprehensive educational experience, an environment where people can ask questions, where experts can answer. We want this to be a place where people can come together to learn.
Mm-hmm. So do you envision having different, I guess, pathways, for lack of better words? So I'm just envisioning there'd be kind of cardiology fellows, nephrology fellows, neurology fellows, and I'm sure a lot more that I just can't think of at the moment. So would there be something like a different path for each of these groups of people with different content, or what are you kind of envisioning?
Yeah, so subject-specific content. Okay. So we were going to start with cardiology, since we're both cardiologists, and maybe expand from there. But right now, we're going to keep a cardiology focus so we can test it out in the cardiology world.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Like you said, it's a minimally viable product. Start with what you know, test it, and see if it works, how people use it, what you need to change, and then go from there. You know about startups, so you're well versed. But yeah, like you said, you've had a lot of experience in entrepreneurship. For people thinking about entrepreneurship, what have you found to be some of the more challenging parts? And then the flip side of that, what has been some of the most rewarding parts of being involved in, innovation, startups, entrepreneurship for you?
Sure. I think the most challenging aspect is building the right team. There's a lot of people out there that want to volunteer, but it's really hard to build a startup with volunteers. They have to be really dedicated to your mission, to your vision. And so building the right team with the right individuals will pose a challenge. Of course, also developing your prototype out. If you're not a full-time software developer, time is challenging. Time is a limited resource. And so allocating the right amount of time, finding the right skill sets to get your project going will be challenging. I think what's rewarding, though, is every day is a new day, and you get some experiences that you never thought you would. You get to meet some wonderful people. I got to know some awesome people at the Collider, and you build a great network. There's a lot of challenges that you can overcome, and when you overcome those challenges, it feels very rewarding. It's thrilling. It's exciting. It's an unknown. You're building something new. You're creating something from scratch, something that doesn't exist. And so it's really cool when something like that takes a life of its own and kind of grows. It's a very rewarding experience.
So we were talking about, you have a full-time job, you have a life that you need to balance with it, plus building this. So what have you found to be helpful kind of strategies? How do you manage all of that?
Yeah, so I don't ever tell people I'm busy. I don't believe in being busy. I think that in order for this to be successful, you should be willing to work at any time of the day. It can't just be a 9 to 5 thing. It has to be after 5 thing, before 9 thing, weekend thing, night thing. So my phone is always is never on silence. It's always ringing. And if anybody calls at any time of the day, Friday night, Sunday night, Saturday night, I will answer. And so I think that's the best way to do it, is to find time wherever you can to work on your projects.
It's interesting. I was just talking with someone a few weeks ago that said, for people thinking about entrepreneurship, thinking about how much time you're actually willing to give or can give is like one of the most important things. Like you said, if you don't want to make that time or can't make that time, it's not going to happen. Like, it's just going to be impossible. So I feel like building a business, being an entrepreneur, you learn a lot of things about yourself as well, or about your business that might have been surprising. Is there anything that you've been really surprised that you've learned about yourself as an individual or what you're building that was just you didn't expect?
That's a great question. I find that there's always room for improvement for myself. I find that working on communication skills helps a lot. And so I joined the local Toastmasters, and I found that just working with them on developing my public speaking skills has been a tremendous boon in my personal and professional life. And so I would recommend anybody who wants to be in entrepreneurship, go to their local Toastmasters and join, because it's a skill that I didn't realize I didn't realize you can continue to work on it even after grade school and college. It's something that's, continual professional development that's crucial for success.
Yeah, especially, you do so much public speaking as an entrepreneur. You wouldn't think it. You think you're just like in your silo, but
Yeah.
at some point you're probably going to have to go raise money, so you have to go talk with people, and do pitches and stuff. And yeah, I know about medical school, how much public presentation you have to do, probably quite a lot. Graduate school is the same way. It's like you talk a lot in front of a full room of very smart people. So
yeah, that's a very good point. So in medical school and residency and fellowships, you speak with the audience, but the audience knows what you're speaking about. It's generally people in your own field. In entrepreneurship, you're speaking to the general public, people who will not understand what you're trying to build, but you have to speak in a way that people understand what you're trying to build, no matter what their educational background is. And so if they're not cardiologists and you're speaking in terms of cardiovascular diseases, in terms of medical terms, they're not going to get it. And it's going to be hard to make your pitch. So I think it's important to talk in a way that everybody can understand what you're saying. I think that's where Toastmasters really helps.
Yeah, well, that's so true. And probably something that's super overlooked by a lot of people too, your local Toastmasters. Super beneficial. Like you said, you've been in Rochester for 2 years. Probably spending a lot of it with your job. But I know you, like you said, you've been exploring the entrepreneurial community here for the past few months. What have you learned about the Rochester entrepreneurial ecosystem? What do you think other people should know about it that are interested in starting a business?
Sure. I think everybody should go talk to Jamie in the Collider. I think that should be your number one step, really. But there's a lot of resources. There's a lot of potential for networking. I think it's important to really go around town and look at all the resources. There's the SCORE, Southern Minnesota SCORE. There's the Ready. There's a business center by the college downtown. There's 2 Collider buildings, 2 Collider workspaces. There's I think a Tuesday morning coffee shop, coffee hour, which was really cool. I met some great people there. There's happy hours. There's just a tremendous amount of resources. I think you just have to go out of your way to find them and just start networking.
Yep, definitely. I totally agree. It's a lot of people are scared to do that, but you just have to go out and talk to people. It's amazing how you can't build a business by yourself, and you really need that support of people doing the same thing, because it's a very isolating world. That's for sure. So I have some fun questions, hopefully, to wrap up. These are new since we're starting a new season, so you're the first person for them.
Okay.
So hopefully they'll be fun. All right, so here goes. All right, so controversial topic, but what is your favorite pizza topping?
Ooh, banana peppers.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I like
all right.
Banana peppers. Yeah, especially the ones we started making our own pizza, and the ones from the food co-op, there's some really good banana peppers there.
That's good to know. I grew some in my yard. Well, not banana peppers. Lost the the little tag. They ended up being hot peppers. Way too hot. Ruined everything. That was unfortunate. All right. What's the last show you binged watched?
The Sinner on Netflix.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. That's a
new
really
one for
good
me.
detective show. Yeah, if you like detective shows, it was really cool.
All right, that's a new one. All right. What's one productivity tool you think everyone should be using?
Oh, wow, there's a lot. Slack is fantastic.
I agree with that.
Yeah, entrepreneurial. I think Slack is a go-to.
Yeah. No more emails. All Slack.
Yeah.
All right. So last question. What is one business or business owner in the community here that you think everyone should know more about?
Yeah. So Solomon Anthony from HoopSpot, great guy, smart, hardworking. He is driven. He's got a really cool idea. I think that's somebody everybody should really get to know.
Solomon is awesome.
Yeah.
I've known him for quite a while, since he was in high school. He's not that old now. He's probably like 21. But yes, he's just been a great person to get to know in the community, especially in the tech space and all that he's done and probably created 2 or 3 startups at this point,
Yeah.
which is crazy. So I'm glad you got connected with him.
Great guy. Yeah.
So that was my last question for you. I'll ask you for any final thoughts and where people can find Medsyllabus when it is ready.
Yeah, it'll probably be at medsyllabus.com. But I guess last thoughts, I think starting up, taking an idea from conception to creation it's nerve-wracking. There's a lot of unknowns, but it's also very exciting. I think if you have an idea, you should just go for it.
Well, thank you so much for the conversation today. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much to Sarma for sharing this great story with us today. And thanks to all of you for tuning in and spending some time with us. If you know an entrepreneur who would benefit from the conversation you just heard today, please share this podcast with them. All right, that's a wrap for us at Rochester Rising today. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. Before you leave us today, we would greatly appreciate that you rate the podcast and make sure that you are subscribed so that you never miss a story of entrepreneurship coming from the Rochester Rising platform. We'll see you here next Wednesday with a brand new episode.